Hello everyone and welcome back to One Soccer. I am your host for today, Josh Deming, and we are back with another episode of Canadians Abroad. This week we'll be focusing on Jonathan Davies' incredible goal scoring form, Alphonso Davies taking his game up a notch, and of course recapping the Canadian Women's National Team performance at the She Believes Cup, plus a lot more as well. So hopefully you guys are excited, and if you are, as always, be sure to drop a like, drop a sub, and let's get into the updates now. To kick off this week's episode of Canadians Abroad, we will start with Alphonso Davies, who after impressing coming off the bench midweek against PSG, earned himself a spot back in Bayern's starting 11 as they took on Gladbach. In the match, Davies played all 90 minutes as a left wing back in a 3-5-2 system, and in the game, Davies had 8 recoveries, he created 4 chances, had 2 shots, 75 touches, and picked up 2 assists. His first assist was absolutely world class. Davies showed his rapid pace, skipping by the opposing defender and put in a perfect cross for Choupo-Moting to slam into the back of the net. His second assist wasn't as nice, but Davies showed great reactions to control the loose ball and set up Tel to put it home. Despite Davies picking up 2 assists, Bayern went on to lose the match 3-2 as Gladbach played a man up since the 8th minute where Upamecano received his marching orders. To start off 2023, Davies looked like he was struggling a bit, and so was Bayern as they drew 3 consecutive matches. Enter Joao Cancelo, who was signed by Bayern, and Davies was then dropped for a few matches after that, including an important Champions League match against PSG. He did, like I mentioned, come on at halftime and provide the match-winning assist as Bayern won that first leg against PSG 1-0, which then earned Davies his start this past weekend against Gladbach. It seems like the internal competition provided by the Cancelo signing got a great reaction from Davies because ever since Cancelo joined Bayern, Davies has picked up 1 goal and 4 assists in 5 matches. So the question is this a coincidence or not?
Yeah, I think you can't ignore what Alphonso Davies has been able to do since Joao Cancelo's come in from Manchester City. Because I think this is the last, couple weeks for Alphonso Davies. It's one of the rare moments where maybe he's had to battle adversity in terms of his spot in the team in the last few years. He's obviously battled injuries and other things of the myocarditis last year. But even then, most times when he came back from those injuries, he'd be right in the 11. There would be no doubt about his standing in the starting 11, and he'd go back to playing 90s right away. Whereas now, Joao Cancelo comes in, Alphonso Davies is starting games on the bench. He's playing 45 minutes in games. It's a bit of adversity for him to realize he's not the 90-minute man at left back anymore. And I think he's improved his play drastically. I think, part of the reason why maybe he struggled out of the gates was, the hamstring injury that he picked up before the World Cup didn't maybe fully recover because obviously it was a tight timeline just to be ready for the World Cup and then, some intense games. And you do wonder, based on how he was playing, which at times was a little more cautious, a little more passive than we're used to seeing from Davies, who usually likes to go full tilt. You do wonder if there was maybe a bit of injury there, but there's no doubt that he's healthy again because he's running like it, setting records again in terms of speed, but also just in terms of his quality of play. He's playing sharper, quicker, more incisive, more dangerous, and I think that's the result of having a world-class player like Cancelo pushing him and making Davies realize that this isn't his spot just to go out every week, play 90 as he was a few years ago. And I think that's a good evolution as a player because it was good for him to play those 90s, in his first few years of Bayern. But now as you get older, complacency can set in, and he's realizing that, okay, at these big clubs, you can be good for 1, 2, 3 years. And if someone comes in that's better than you, they'll forget about it right away. So I think Davies has got a taste of that, and he's responded very nicely recently.
Jonathan David was back in action over the weekend as he started and played all 90 minutes as a striker in a 4-2-3-1 system. In the match, David had 7 shots, he had 41 touches, completed 78% of his passes, and scored a goal, although he probably should have had at least a hat-trick in this match. The goal did once again come from the penalty spot as David calmly placed the ball past Donnarumma, and despite Lille being the better side for the majority of this match, they lost 4-3 due to a late free kick by Lionel Messi, and PSG took this one, which now means that Lille sit 6th place in the table with a 12-5-7 record. David will definitely regret missing a few of those chances, although he is still sitting at the top of the Ligue 1 scoring charts, level on 15 goals with Mbappe and Balogun. David is really enjoying his start to 2023 so far as he has scored 7 goals in 9 matches and is on pace right now to score 25 league goals, which would be a career high for him. Scoring consistently over the course of his season has always been a bit of an issue with David having long goalless droughts, but right now he's proving that this season may be different. If he can keep this type of form going and finish with around 25 plus goals this season, I believe some big clubs could try to sign him this summer because he could very well be Europe's best young prospect available. It is now being reported that one of those interested clubs is RB Leipzig, as Fabrizio Romano had this to say. Leipzig, among other clubs, are heavily interested in Jonathan David. He is a top target as being able to play as a target striker and second striker. They are looking for solutions internally, but it seems difficult as very expensive one. David, top scorer in Ligue with 15 goals in 23 games. Now, I've personally been wanting to see Jonathan David go to the Bundesliga for a long time, and I've even linked him to Leipzig in the past, saying that this would be a good fit. Now, the reason I thought of that is because RB Leipzig like to invest in North American players. We've seen that with some of the Americans they've invested in, so it's just natural right now to target a Canadian. On top of that, Nkunku is going to Chelsea for a big chunk of change, and that could be reinvested in a player like Jonathan David, who I think could be the perfect replacement. We don't know what's going to happen right now, but I'm really excited to see if this transfer does one day happen. The Canadian women's national team have played all of their matches at the She Believes Cup, and here to break down the tournament for you is special guest Jess Lisi.
It was a really disappointing She Believes Cup. You know, we're so used to the Canadians being that great defensive team. We have spoken about how they struggle a little bit in the attack. There was a very big lack of cohesiveness, I felt, both offensively and defensively. And again, that's very rare to see from the Canadians on the defensive side. You know, you had players like Buchanan and Cyle who typically come up huge. They struggled a little bit this tournament. And that's not to, reflect their quality as players, because they are both fantastic players. And I do believe that those are the two best options for that center back role. But they would probably be disappointed with their performances this whole She Believes Cup. If you start off in the U.S. game, Canada looked very frantic. They looked almost surprised at how great the U.S. was in coming out with all that pressure. And, Canada, they just looked confused. They didn't know what to do. They were forcing the ball, which again is very uncharacteristic of Canada. You want to see them play through players like Fleming or Grosso and get forward and be able to start the attack for them. Again, not a great performance by them in that U.S. game, but to be fair, maybe they were a little bit thrown off by everything going off outside of the pitch. It was really nice to see the U.S. and Canada come together and, to make a stand against that equality and that pay fight that's going on right now. Canada definitely does deserve that equal pay. In my personal opinion, they have done everything to prove that they are great. And it's very hard to represent a federation that you don't feel, really respects you or what you've done. Moving into the second matchup against Brazil, I wouldn't say it was their cleanest game, but they got it done. So, you can't take a win away from them. The first goal with Gilles, that was a great header. People are arguing, would it have gone in if the Brazilian defender didn't fall? I still believe it would have. She did really time it well. She redirected it well. There was a lot of power. Obviously, great ball in by Fleming. Overall, it was not a clean game, but I would say it was a lot better than their U.S. matchup. Moving into the final matchup yesterday against Japan, I would say this was one of the hardest matches to watch. Japan is a great squad. They're very organized. They're very hard to break down. And I just felt that although players like Evelyn Vienne and Chloe Lacasse came in and, they stepped up to the plate, I felt that they did create something that had been missing in the attack with that little bit of flair. Although they didn't necessarily create anything for Canada that ended in a goal. Overall, it was a pretty good performance by the two of them. It was nice to see some new faces out there that could potentially step into the lineup in the future with the World Cup coming up. But again, overall, it just seemed very disorganized defensively, very uncharacteristic of Canada, as I said earlier. Offensively, there was just no spark. You had players like Adriana Leon coming off the bench who, arguably is better as a sub versus a starter. She brings a lot of energy. She's great 1v1. So I personally do believe that Adriana Leon is somebody that comes off the bench and really changes the game. Whereas as a starter, we don't see her spark as well. I'm not sure why that is, but she just seems to bring a lot of flair coming off of that bench. I also don't believe that we know who the best front three are right now. You have Christine Sinclair playing in more of a number 10 role. I do think that she isn't mobile enough to play there, but potentially playing as that number 9 and putting her back in her own role and having someone like Fleming move up and move Quinn into the midfield next to Grosso. I do believe that would be the best combination at the moment. The wingers, that's kind of up in the air right now. I do think when Nichelle Prince or Deanne Rose comes back, that would be, the best addition, having two people with speed on the flanks. I don't believe anybody in this tournament really stepped up and showed that they deserve that starting role. When you look at someone like a Janine Becky, who's typically that starting winger, I think Janine Becky would be great as a fullback. She hasn't been bringing that spark that she typically does in that final third. But I think as a fullback, she still has that ability to get forward and be involved in the attack. But she's also shown that she does have great defensive abilities. So overall, I would say that this was a really disappointing tournament for Canada. I do hope that, they're able to kind of give their head a shake and refocus for the next matchup that they have coming up in April. Hopefully that does happen. Hopefully they come to an agreement with Canada Soccer before then. But if not, I do hope that they are able to refocus and get back to their game plan that they typically have and use their strengths to go into this World Cup.
Stephanie Eustaquio got the start for Porto over the weekend, playing all 90 minutes as a center mid in a 4-4-2 system. In the match, Eustaquio had 64 touches, he completed 89% of his passes, created 3 chances, had 1 shot and 3 recoveries, as Porto went on to win the match 1-0 to sit second place in the table with a 16-3-2 record. Porto were doing everything they can to stay on the tails of Benfica, although they are still 5 points behind, and that looks very difficult to overcome considering that Porto and Benfica look almost undefeatable at the league play right now. Regardless though, however, Eustaquio was incredible in this match. He was everywhere on the pitch for Porto. It was a complete midfield performance from him. He looked so good on the ball, he dictated the play, and this was probably one of his best showings ever since joining Porto. Cyle Larin started his first match in La Liga over the weekend, starting as a striker in a 4-2-3-1 system. In the match, Larin had 5 shots, 41 touches. He did miss 1 good opportunity to score, but he did also find the back of the net once again for Valladolid. It was a great finish as well, as Larin made a well-timed run to receive the pass. Then he had a perfectly placed shot that nutmegged the opposing defender and just crept inside the post. Unfortunately though, it wasn't enough for Valladolid as they lost the match 2-1 against Real Betis to sit 15th place in the table with a 7-3-12 record. It's incredible what a change in scenery can do, especially for strikers. Larin was miserable in Belgium, not getting opportunities, not scoring goals, but just like that, he's back to top form, scoring in one of the best leagues in the world. Right now, he has scored 3 goals in 4 appearances, averaging a goal every 55 minutes, and he's already second on his team in goals, just 2 off of first place. What a start to life in Spain. Valladolid owner Ronaldo Phenomenon is looking at Cyle Larin's performances right now with a big smile on his face. This past weekend, Tajon Buchanan started once again and played 81 minutes as a right wing in a 4-3-3 system. In the match, Buchanan had 33 touches, 3 recoveries, he created 1 chance, and he picked up an assist as Buchanan showed great awareness to spot the run of Kasper Nielsen to tee him up to perfectly curl home a screamer. Unfortunately, once again for Club Brugge, they went on to draw the match 2-2 and still remain 4th place in the table with an 11-10-5 record. Last week I talked about really enjoying the fact that Tajon Buchanan is featuring as a winger in this Club Brugge setup. However, he needed to start finding that end product, scoring some more goals or assists. So to see him get off this game and get an assist is a great way to bring up some confidence, and it brings his total this season to 1 goal and 2 assists in 16 appearances. After picking up this assist, Buchanan will look to keep the momentum going and finish the season strong because there is still interest in this player. It's being reported that Leeds United as well as Inter Milan are still keeping tabs on him. Very curious to see if one of these clubs come after him in the summer, but if he wants to make that move potentially happen, he needs to keep up these type of performances and finish the season strong. We have some big transfer news to break down today, as it's being reported in Turkey that Atiba Hutchinson and Besiktas have mutually agreed to terminate Atiba's expiring contract early in wake of the serious earthquake that hit both Syria and Turkey. If these reports are true, that means that Atiba is a free agent, and many Canadian men's national team supporters may be wondering what will the GOAT's next move be. Well, Atletico Ottawa CEO Fernando Lopez has made his ambitions known, tweeting this: "As per popular outcry aroused in the nation's capital, do you want to come and play for Atletico? If we hit 150 likes, we will send you a proposal." Right now, at the time of recording, that tweet has hit over 600 likes, which I guess means that Hutchinson should be receiving an offer any minute now. At the age of 40, Hutchinson still has a lot to give. He has played 333 times for Besiktas in all competitions and has 101 caps for the Canadian men's national team. He's a true legend of Canadian soccer, and what a way it would be to come home and play a season or 2 in Canada's domestic league. Only time will tell to see what Atiba's next move is, but I've been told that there's also some interest in Atiba to coach in Canada. However, for me, I'd personally rather see him play a season or 2 in the Canadian Premier League to end off what will be an incredible career. So CPL clubs, get your offers ready because Atletico Ottawa already made the first move. Over the weekend, Ismael Kone had what I believe was his best performance for Watford since joining the championship side. Kone started the match and played 81 minutes as a CDM in a 4-2-3-1 system. In the match, Kone had 64 touches, 5 recoveries, he created 1 chance, had 2 shots, completed 91% of his passes, and he had 3 accurate long balls as Watford went on to win the match 3-2 against West Brom. They now sit 7th place in the table with a 13-11-9 record. Kone has started 3 matches in a row right now, and he seems to have worked his way into becoming a starter under Bilic. He's really starting to find his game right now, getting more comfortable in the league, and he's just going to keep getting better and better the more opportunities he gets. The English Championship is one of the most grueling leagues in the world. It's long and is not easy to get adjusted to, which is why it's so impressive seeing this 20-year-old kid come in here and make himself at home. He's playing so well right now, and I can't wait to see how he keeps growing this season to hopefully help Watford fight for promotion. This past weekend, Alistair Johnston started and played all 90 minutes as a right back in a 4-3-3 system. In the match, Johnston had 102 touches, he completed 88% of his passes, he created 3 chances, had 1 shot and 5 recoveries, as Celtic went on to smash Aberdeen 4-0 to sit first place in the table with a 24-1-1 record. This was another incredible performance from Johnston, who continues to look right at home playing for the best side in Scotland. This weekend will be very exciting and a little nerve-wracking for Johnston as Celtic take on Rangers this Sunday, February 26th in the League Cup final. It will be an opportunity for Johnston to pick up his first trophy in Europe since joining the club. I know Johnston just got to Celtic in January, but I can already see some big clubs coming after him this summer. He looks incredible, he's so consistent, he's such a workhorse, and I can see some Premier League clubs, specifically them, coming in and maybe making some type of move for him. Excited to see how he finishes up this season and if there's going to be interest this summer. Dominick Zator started over the weekend, playing all 90 minutes as a right back in a 4-1-4-1 system. In the match, Zator had 62 touches, 1 shot, 11 clearances, and 1 interception. Godinho also featured in that match, coming on as a sub in the 73rd minute to help Corona Kielce see out the match and pick up an important 1-0 win. They still sit 17th place in the table with a 5-5-11 record, however they are only 2 points away from getting out of the relegation zone. That is all the time we have for in this edition of Canadians Abroad. I hope you all enjoyed it, and if you did, as always, be sure to drop a like, drop a sub, be sure to subscribe over to One Soccer for all the best Canadian soccer coverage, and we'll talk to you soon. Cheers, friends!